Yo, what is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel, and today we're going to be talking about some roster drama in the North American scene. Team Liquid, only just forming their super team in the last 6 months, is looking to make some changes after things have gone off to a not so great start in their new tenure. Courtesy of reporting done by Mira over at HLTV, sources are saying that Team Liquid is not happy with the current state of the roster and may be looking for a replacement for Cadian. Which, listen, I'm no expert, however, it is my considered opinion, that might be the dumbest thing I have ever heard. And there are many reasons why that is the case. So today, we're going to go over this report, take a look at what we know, how Team Liquid has performed in the last 6 months, what they need to do to get to tournament winning form, and why kicking Cadian would be what we call in the industry a terrible idea. So if that sounds interesting to you, make sure you guys take a second, leave a like, leave a comment down below, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. It helps out immensely in the YouTube algorithm, as many of you who watch these videos are not subscribed, so make sure you do it, as it costs you nothing and helps me out immensely. Also, while you're down there, consider becoming a channel member for $5 a month to get exclusive access to emotes, emblems, a shout out at the end of every video, as well as access to videos the night before they go live for everybody else. And lastly, come check me out on Twitch, twitch.tv/LionHeartZ1337. I stream Sunday through Friday, 8:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, playing Counter-Strike. Sometimes a little bit of variety, sometimes a little bit of hoopla. You never know what you're going to get, so why don't you drop on by. So first things first, before we get into this Cadian situation, I want to talk a little bit about how Liquid have performed since forming this roster. They've been together now for about 6 months, and during that time, the biggest failure was their inability to qualify for the PGL Major at Copenhagen, failing to do so in the second qualifier. Outside of that, they had a playoff performance 5th to 6th at IEM Chengdu, they made 5th to 8th in Pro League, they went top 16 in Blast Premier Spring Finals, they went 1st and 2nd in both the North American qualifiers for the Esports World Cup, and are currently in the playoffs of the CCT Global Finals, which is a 16-team online tournament with a decent level of competition. You know, you got Astralis, Eternal Fire, Gamer Legion, and Liquid, very decent level of competition overall. So really, outside of missing the major, that's not a bad start for a newly formed roster. I mean, over that span, you guys have played 91 maps, you have a 59 and 32 win-loss record, and overall, when you look at the player stats, it's not that bad. Everyone's over a 1.0 rating. You got Naf and Twist as by far the two best players with a 1.23 and 1.22 rating specifically. Cadian has had great glimpses on the op and some overall solid mix of strat calling. And at least so far, it seems like the team is playing better each and every tournament. And when you consider that prior to this roster shuffle, Liquid were exactly nowhere and going nowhere very fast, it does seem like we're jumping the gun a little bit to try and make such a drastic change to the team. That's not to say the team is perfect. I've been pretty critical of this Team Liquid team so far. I think the issues are elsewhere. I think centering this blame on Cadian makes really no sense at all. Firstly, because of personnel. If you bench Cadian, you're not only losing your in-game leader, you're losing your primary omper. So now instead of being like, let's say, 1 move away from this team potentially being significantly better, you have to make 2 moves. You need to find a new in-game leader who's competent enough to replace what Cadian offers, and you need to find an omper on the open market who can replace his output. Now, just doing one of those doesn't seem that unreasonable, but as soon as you have to do 2, 1, who are you going to drop alongside Cadian to make room for? And then following that, who are you going to find that covers those holes? In terms of international quality in-game leaders, that market is really thin. You could consider going North America only and trying to reform a more American-centric roster, but once again, is there anybody in North America who has a proven track record as good as Cadian? I don't think so. So at best, you're taking a gamble, and then if you want to go international, who else is really available? The only person I can think of who would possibly be available right now is potentially Glaive on Ents. And if you get Glaive, great. Glaive is a potentially great in-game leader, but you still need an omper to replace what you've lost with Cadian. So you still need to make another move. How much money are Team Liquid willing to spend instead of just letting this roster continue to grow and develop? That's a question that has to be asked. Okay, so at least in my opinion, the Counter-Strike side of this equation doesn't make any sense. So are there other factors at play that might be making Liquid consider making this kind of change? Well, if we look back at the report done by Mira, sources are saying that the vibe around the team is not great. The sources in Mira's reporting are saying that despite the team doing better in its last few tournaments, the atmosphere within the team is still not positive, which could lead to them making a roster change. And right away, I really have a problem with this framing, because if the atmosphere is not positive, I don't necessarily think that that's the fault of the IGL. I feel like that kind of team management role is shared between the IGL, the star player, and the coach. These players are the pillars of the team. They're the ones that everyone else has to look to for motivation, for guidance, for that veteran presence to help younger players maybe hold their nerve a little bit better. So I start to look at Zeus firstly. What is Zeus doing here that is allowing the atmosphere to remain in a not positive light? Because he should be backing up his in-game leader first and foremost. Are they not seeing eye to eye and that's causing friction? If that's the case, who is going to be more valuable to the team in the long run, Zeus or Cadian? Following that, I have to ask who might be on the team that is causing that friction in the first place? Who is helping to raise the attitude and make it less positive? When we look at how the team is performing, there's only one player who's consistently underperformed expectations here, and it's been Yekindar. Skullz at least has been tournament to tournament and he's had good performances, but Yekindar consistently has been the thing that's dragging this team back in terms of production. Also keep in mind that Yekindar alongside Nafly are the remnants of the previous roster in which Yekindar had assumed IGL duties. So he was essentially demoted from in-game leader, asked to pick up a support role, and has suffered in terms of his personal performance after the fact. I think it's very possible that there could be friction between Yekindar and Cadian that might be leading to the issues within the team, because the rest of the personalities on the team just don't seem to be the type that would cause friction. Naf is a notoriously quiet dude. He just kind of does his own thing. Same thing with Twists. Skullz, for me, I don't really know that much about him, but he's a young player. He has Zeus to help him out as a fellow Brazilian. I don't really see Skullz as the potential player to raise a lot of issues, but Cadian, admittedly, can be a bit of a hothead. He's a very passionate guy, and then you have Yekindar, who lost his job to Cadian. That seems to be the recipe for potential issues. Now, I do want to clarify real quick. My position is that Team Liquid should not be making a roster move right now. It's far too early to be looking at roster moves, but at the same time, if we're reaching that point, if Team Liquid feels so compelled to do so, I do not see the point in kicking your third best player, your in-game leader, your primary opper, when Yekindar can't even have a positive kill-death ratio. Now listen, was that a little bit mean? Yeah, but I stand by it. I just think it's very weird to see this team moving so quickly to try and change things when most teams really get the benefit of at least like 8 months, sometimes 10 months to a year to really find their place, especially when we're talking about a team with this high level of players involved. I mean, let's consider some more context for this team, right? This is Twist's first return to Team Liquid since playing with FaZe. It's also the first time that Twist is finding himself in the role of being the primary star player. And every other roster that he's played under, both FaZe and Liquid previously, he was the second star. He played beneath a Leech, he played beneath Rops. And obviously he was a standout superstar player in those teams, but there's a big difference between being 1B and being the 1A in a team. And when I look at this current Team Liquid roster play, I think they've only gotten better in terms of their cohesion and their strat book, but the thing that keeps falling behind is the fragging output. I think Skullz could be an inconsistent player. I think Naf, while being one of the most dependable role players in the world, he simply isn't going to play at that high volume every single game. He's going to be good for 1 or 2 games here and there, where he's going to pop off, again, very similar to Rain, but he's not going to put up the same consistent level of numbers that Twist will do. So when I look to Skullz, he needs to take a step up. When I look to Yekindar, he needs to take a step up. When I look to Cadian, he needs to be more consistent with the op in his hands. And I think those things take time to develop. I think Yekindar can improve his play if he buys into the system. He feels a little bit out of place when I currently watch the team, so I'd like to see him embrace the support role a little bit more, and maybe that will help benefit his numbers. Also, I think something we should consider here is the recent map pool changes. When you look at Liquid's play since they formed this roster, Overpass was actually one of their worst maps. It's something they played, not inconsistently, but they had a 50% win rate over 8 attempts on it. So that map is now out of their rotation. Even if they don't embrace Dust 2, they now have a map that they are formerly bad on out of the way so they can focus their picks on maps they have more success on, namely Ancient, Inferno, Anubis, and Mirage. So yeah, we'll see how this works out. I think it's very clear that IEM Dallas is going to be a big sticking point for the future of this Liquid roster. If Liquid are going to be committing to any changes, it would happen after that event. It's the biggest event on the calendar for the next little bit, and of course it is a major North American tournament, so if they could show up and do well on home soil, that will do a lot to alleviate the tensions. Looking at the field at IEM Dallas, how do I think Team Liquid would do? I think they have a good shot of continuing to make the playoffs. They've made the playoffs at the last 2 major tournaments, Chengdu and EPL, so I think they continue that streak. Against other playoff caliber teams like FaZe, Mouse, Astralis, Vitality, etc., can they do damage against that type of crowd? Yeah, but I think it requires play around the margins. It requires Skullz and Yekindar to be more consistent than they have been, which of course has been the big issue with the team. Let me know what you guys think of Team Liquid in the comments down below. Do you think it's time to make a roster change, or should they stick it out longer? Let me know, and I'll be responding in the comments as well. What other teams do you think should be targeting some free agent moves post IEM Dallas? Be interesting to talk about. Other than that, thank you guys for watching. Shout out to Jesse, Justin, and Furley for being channel members and keeping the lights on. Consider becoming a channel member down below for $5 a month to support me in what we do here. Check me out on Twitch, all that good stuff. I'll see you guys soon with another video, and peace.